Welcome to Growth Minded Conversations. We're your hosts, Amy Diestelkamp and Paula Grimes from Growth Minded Talent Solutions, where we talk about the real leadership and hiring decisions behind building a growing business. Welcome back, everyone, to Growth Minded Conversations. My name is Amy Diestelkamp, and I'm here with my business partner, Paula Grimes. How are you today, Paula?
I am doing great.
Wonderful. Some exciting news. We had our first respondent come back to us, someone who had been listening to our episode last week around feedback, and she wanted some coaching around how to have a conversation with her new hire. She's had a hire on her team for a little while now, less than 30 days, and they had not set up a regular feedback loop that we talked about last week. And she had some things she wanted to bring to her attention. So we had a conversation around what would that look like. And luckily, I don't think it was to the point where she's going to have a big conversation with her, but I think it was a realization of, if I don't go on ahead and have this feedback now or give her this feedback now, what's coming down the road for us. One of the things we talked about a lot was how helpful it would be as she goes into that conversation of acknowledging first and foremost, right, where her ownership was and how they got to where they were at this point. And she was super open to that. She hadn't set the expectation she wanted to, and that they were going to need to do a reset. After our conversation yesterday, I think she was really prepared to do some great work with her new team member there. So it really came full circle for me, though, of the importance of feedback again, and what happens when we have to have those deeper conversations. And those deeper conversations might come from a few different things. Have you ever had to experience that, where you've had to have that bigger conversation with the team member, Paula?
Oh, yes. I'm sure we've all experienced it either on the giving end or the receiving end.
Very true. Yeah. Because this comes from a couple different things. Either we've put off giving feedback, so now we have to have a big conversation, or we've given feedback and we're not seeing the changes that we were hoping is from that feedback along the way.
Let's talk about that today at the second scenario, right? Like, we've given feedback and the changes we need to see made are not made.
Yeah.
Right. So now we're coming into a harder conversation. Like, it started as an easier conversation because we brought something to somebody's attention and we expected a change to be made, and we're finding that the change wasn't made. So I'm going to bring us back to Susan Scott in Fierce Conversations. Again, it's a phenomenal book around communication in the professional world. It translates over into our personal life too. It's great for our professional world. And so I think the hard thing for most people when they have to have a hard conversation is, how do I even start this? It's not the conversation itself. It's like, how do I start the conversation? So that, one, they're realizing how serious it is. I'm getting my point across, but they're not shutting down on me. Right? Yeah. When you go in angry at somebody, a lot of people will tend to shut down. Mm-hmm. So we don't want our people to shut down. We want our people to engage with us. And so how do we start this conversation so they understand how serious this issue is and they don't shut down on us?
Yeah. Good points. That we want to diffuse the defensiveness before it even shows up.
Yes, 100%. And we really, truly want to turn this into a conversation. And Susan Scott gives us a model to do that with. So let's go through it real quick. So this intro, as she says, it's 7 steps, and it shouldn't take more than a minute. And it is literally the intro into this conversation to open it up into a safe space so we can have a conversation around something. So the first thing she says is, name the issue.
I feel like what I hear a lot from people, and it seems like a small issue, but then it starts to show up in a lot of places, is being late, either being late to meetings or being late to work in the day. I feel like that's what I hear across the board over and over again.
Okay. So she says you might phrase this to, I want to talk with you about the effect of your being late is having on, I'm going to say the team. So I want to talk with you about the effect of your being late is having on the team. Then the second thing she says is select a specific example that illustrates the behavior or situation you want to change. For example, yesterday we had our team meeting and we were all there ready to go, and we waited 5 minutes for you to show up.
Yep.
Let's talk about specific examples a minute. To me, this is so important because often people, if they knew it was an issue, if they truly knew it was an issue, like even if we've given them a feedback and they haven't changed it, they still aren't seeing that it's an issue. And I have talked to people before where time management isn't a really good thing, and they don't understand. They don't actually have an awareness around how their time management affects the people around them. So examples to me are so key because people often have, this is a blind spot for them.
Yeah.
They don't realize how their behavior is affecting other people, and therefore they don't even realize the behavior is a problem. So when you can give specific examples of when that issue has occurred, it's even more than one. Like Susan Scott talks about one. I personally don't think when you get to this point that one is enough. I don't think you need to go into 100, but I think 2 or 3 examples so that they understand it's recurring. This isn't a one-off, right? This is a recurring problem. I think it's so important.
Because that's the difference between a feedback conversation and this deeper conversation, right?
Yes.
A feedback conversation is a one-off, hey, this happened. This is why we need to solve, correct? And hopefully we never have to have this conversation again. This is now this keeps happening. I've probably already addressed this at least once before with you. And here's the pattern that I keep seeing.
Yes. And Amy said something key where I've addressed this with you before. I would not bring that up at this point because that does cause the defensiveness to go up. So I would just come in, name the issue, and give 2 or 3 examples of when this has happened. Then the next thing she says is describe the emotion around the issue. So I feel disrespected when I am here waiting for you and I have set that time in my day aside for you and you show up late. Or I've had several members on the team share with me that they feel disrespected when you show up late for our team meeting and they've all shown up on time and they have a very busy day ahead of them. Describe the emotion around the issue. Again, they very well don't realize how their behavior is affecting other people.
Yeah.
So you're just really deeply bringing that awareness to them.
Right. It gives them context, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And again, I am amazed sometimes because I don't have a time management issue. And I am amazed sometimes when I'm talking to people who have a time management issue and we talk about their view of it and I talk about my view of it just in conversation. They're surprised at my take on things because that's not how they see the world.
Yeah.
So when I share how I see when somebody's consistently late, right, how it affects me, it doesn't even enter their mind. Like that hasn't even been a thought for them. So they're really surprised when I say, hey, this is how I feel when I am on time and somebody's late. They're oblivious to it, right? It is not part of their view of the world. So it is so important to share that other view of the world.
Yeah. But you just brought up a side tangent here for everyone. We definitely need to do an episode on perception of time because
Yes.
it is fascinating to see how differently, and you and I show up very differently in that regard. Right? It's one of the ways that we are complete opposites, and we have definitely learned how to work together through it.
Yes. And I'm not saying my way is the right way. If it is your business and you expect people to show up a certain way and they're not showing up that way, you have a right to have a discussion with them. So if you expect your people to be on time and they're not showing up on time, it is your right to have that conversation with them. So we've gone through name the issue,
Yep.
select 2 or 3 examples, describe your emotion around the issue or the emotion it creates around the issue, then clarify why this is important. What is at stake to gain or lose for you or for others or for the team or for the organization? Okay. So from my perspective, the stakes are high. You're being late. Your job is affecting your job and is at stake. Name the issue and name what's going to happen if this problem doesn't get fixed, right? It could be your being late is affecting the culture of the team. And it is a culture that I want to protect. And if you can't come in alignment with this culture, your job could be at stake. So you need to tell them how serious it is. What is at stake?
Yeah.
Again, their perspective, if they're continuing a behavior that you've already brought to their attention, they don't realize how serious it is. So really, this statement is telling them how serious it is. Now, this might put them a little bit on the defensive. Hopefully it doesn't. But the next thing should take them off the defensive.
Okay.
Identify your contribution to this problem.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
When I say, hey, this is at stake if we don't fix this problem or you don't fix this problem, whatever it is, right? But then I come back to me, I now am saying I am taking accountability for that part that I've played in this. So it might be, I recognize that I haven't brought this to your attention every time you've done it. And so you probably don't realize how serious this is, right?
Mhm.
And because I've only brought it to your attention once or twice and it's happened several times, I apologize that I've only brought it to your attention a couple of times when this is such a serious problem. So that coming back to me should take them off the defensive because it's now turning this into we're having a conversation about this.
Right. It gives a sense of we're in this together to find us.
Yes. Yes, exactly. And that is where the next 2 steps are going to take us.
Okay.
So the 6th step is to indicate your wish to resolve the issue. You know, Amy, I don't want to lose you. You are such a key member to our team and you do so many great things for our team. I really want to resolve this with you. I really want to resolve the issue of your being late all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And then number 7 is inviting them to respond. Amy, I really want to understand your perspective on all of this.
Mm-hmm.
Share with me your thoughts after I've shared all this with you. Now we've turned it into a conversation.
And this allows them to talk about how their time management or how they see time, how they see the importance of meetings, things like that. So that way they can give their context of the world to you.
Yes. And it could be something we don't even know.
Right.
Right? They could share, listen, our team meetings are at this time every week, and I have this right before that, and I'm not able to move this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the solution is. I'm going to continue to be 5 minutes late, or can we move the meeting? It turns it into a discussion of like, oh, I didn't even know you had that right before this.
Right.
Yeah. Yes. There may be more to the story than we realize.
Right. Yes, that's so true. They might know that they're late, right? They feel like it's out of their control and they need help to find that solution.
Right. Yes. And now we can tackle a problem together. And it's not I'm getting upset with you and you better figure this out.
Mhm.
Don't let this happen again.
Right.
Right. It is not that at all. We are in this together. How do we move forward together?
So they share with you what's going on from their perspective. And how do we wrap this up? How do we make sure that we're now on the same page and we've identified a solution that works for everyone?
Okay. And let's talk about that because the person leading the conversation, you have to remain in control of this conversation, right? You are the final decision maker on this solution. It may go in a place that you hadn't expected it to go because there's more to the story than you realized. Yet it is up to you to make sure you're walking away from this with some sort of resolution. And it's clearly outlined. It's not let me think about this. You've already gone through that. You've given them the feedback and nothing's changed. It is now, this is how we're going to handle it. And it may come down to you having to make that decision even after the conversation. Sometimes as a supervisor, you still need to make the decision. However, what would be great is if they found out the solution on their own and could tell you in the conversation.
Right. Because then they own it.
Yeah, because they own it. I didn't realize my being late was so serious. I didn't realize everybody was waiting for me. From here on out, I'm going to make sure I leave 10 minutes early for this meeting so that I am there 5 minutes early, right? That's the response we're looking for. And if we don't get that response, we may need to guide them there. We may need to say, hey, this is how this is going to play out.
Yeah. So have you ever encountered where someone's resistant, right? You've given the examples, you shared the emotions and what's at stake, and they don't think that it's a problem. They don't think that they should have to change. They're resistant to helping find a solution. Have you ever had that happen, or does this really kind of break through all of that?
It could happen. I don't have an example that comes to my mind, although I am sure that has happened at some point. It goes back to what's at stake if there's not a change here.
Right.
You have to bring it back to that.
Yeah.
And it may be leaving the conversation of, listen, Amy, I know we've discussed this. I understand your point of view. Hopefully I brought some awareness to you. And I'm going to go back to what's at stake here, right? There's no more chances around this. The next time this happens, it is going to affect your job.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. And right. So there's a couple different outcomes here. We might find a solution and move forward with making changes. And if they're resistant to finding a solution, or they don't see this as a big problem, it invites them to maybe reassess, is this the right place for me? Is this the right team for me? Without you having to necessarily say, this is not the right team for you.
Right. And truly that has happened, because sometimes we're in misalignment with our view of the world. Neither one of us wants to change. And the business owner, right? It's their business. We can't expect a business owner to change to us. It's their business. People will come and go through their business, but they will always be there. And so if I, as the employee, are coming in and it's like, no, I'm not okay with that. What you're asking me to do, I'm not okay with. It might bring that awareness to me of like, you know what, this isn't the right job for me. I do need to go find another job. And so many people are worried when they have these hard conversations that that's where it's going to end up. And you guys, that's okay. Because sooner or later, when you're misaligned, sooner or later, they're going to part ways from you anyway, but they're going to have done damage along the way. If they're consistently late for everything and it's throwing off the dynamic of the team, they're going to cause so much damage along the way that by the time they actually do get to the point where they're like, I'm not good with this, and they leave, you have damage there. So it's better if you're in misalignment and people aren't willing to change, to come into alignment with the way we want to have our business, it's better for them to make that decision before damage is done.
Yeah. I've managed people for almost 20 years now. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that out loud. And nothing hurts more than realizing when someone leaves the team that the rest of your team is like breathing a sigh of relief. And they're relieved. And it's like, because I feel like I failed doubly. I failed my team and I also failed that person. So, it's one of those things where if you can keep it from getting to that point and everybody can stay working for the good of the team, stay working for the good of their own professional development and benefit, then in the long run, it really does serve you better than dragging it out, so to speak.
Yes. And it's better for everybody involved,
Yes.
for both the employer and employee, because as an employee, if you are not in alignment with where you're working, you're not thriving. You
Right.
can't be all that you can be. So go find that opportunity where you can be all that you can be.
Yeah. Because there is probably a team out there where they're okay with everyone being 5 to 10 minutes late.
Yes, because the leader is like that. And that's how the whole team operates.
Yep, for sure.
Let's talk on our next episode about time. I know we used as an example here, yet there is a great conversation around how we perceive time.
Agreed. And this is one of the more fascinating things that I've learned along the way is the difference in how people approach time and perceive it. So I think that'll be a really great episode. I think lots to learn and unpack there. So I hope you all got something out of this episode. Again, this was a model around, remind me, Paula, who was the author of the book?
Susan Scott and Fierce Conversations.
And if you're interested in a handout of that model, we will have Susan Scott's model up on our website along with this podcast episode. So if you'd like to review that, that'll be available to you as well. And we look forward to seeing you next week when we talk about time.
All right, growth-minded leaders, that's a wrap on today's episode. We hope this sparked some fresh ideas and fueled your drive to build, lead, and grow with purpose. And if something we shared helped shift your perspective, we'd love for you to leave a review. It helps us reach more business builders just like you. Better yet, share this with someone on your team or in your inner circle who's ready to level up their leadership game. Until next time, keep leading boldly, hiring wisely, and training with intention. You're not just building a business, you're shaping a legacy.